Hey guys, Level Cap here. The official Gamescom Battlefield 5 trailer has just dropped. It's actually a really good trailer, something that I think we've all been waiting for from Battlefield 5. Before we get into the breakdown and analysis, let's just watch the trailer for anyone who hasn't yet seen it.
Back! This way! Attack! Tell your children not to do what I have. Spend your lives in sin and in the house of not good!
Alright, so there's a lot of talk about there. Clearly our first look at Battlefield's Royale mode with that giant fire circle closing in on some soldiers. Before we get into that bit though, let's just go through the trailer chronologically and talk about what we're seeing. The opening shot we have here is of the city Rotterdam. I believe the name of this map here will be called Destruction, as that will be the second day or the second phase of the Rotterdam battle in which most of the city is destroyed and in ruins. Of course, we have the in-game footage message up on screen just to remind you, in case you're unaware of how good DICE games look, that this is actually in-game footage. We then get a shot of a German Tiger tank turning down one of the streets that's already in ruins and taking a shot at one of the buildings. This is showcasing the dense urban combat mixed with vehicles and massive amounts of destruction. It definitely reminds me of Amiens, just with the destruction turned to 11. We then get some nice establishing shots of the larger city, showing off a beautiful waterway, a large hotel, an elevated railway that all looks pretty incredible. We then get a street level shot of soldiers in the daylight. Now, during the Battle of Rotterdam, it was predominantly Dutch forces fighting the Germans. These soldiers here don't look Dutch, they look British and then kind of mixed up here and there. As we now know, Battlefield 5's customization system will allow you to customize the look of your soldier however you want for both the Allies and the Axis forces, and that look will go with you between different battles, whether or not they're historically accurate. So if you're wondering about the soldiers fighting in this battle not being accurate looking, that's why. The soldier lying on the ground is also wearing a gas mask. Whether this is just a cosmetic bit of gear or it actually plays a purpose to defend against chemical-based weapons like gas grenades from Battlefield 1 has not yet been confirmed. We also see two female soldiers running in the background and then another female soldier who looks like she's from the trailer leaping over a car here in a similarly silly getup with a large black trench coat. She has studded boots, satchel bags, weapon holsters, all examples of cosmetic items that I'm sure you'll be able to unlock in game. Here we see a support player who is also wearing a gas mask, but this one clearly has some extra flair on it with the British flag being painted across his face. We then have some soldiers running down a cobblestone street. The player who's running appears to be carrying the Vickers K machine gun, which is a British machine gun with a pan feeding option similar to the Lewis gun. Rifle fire grenades are making a return, and as we see the soldier jumping out the window here, the player is carrying an FG-42 with a reflector sight. This was a battle rifle developed for German paratroopers, and it could carry either 10 or 20 rounds in a magazine. The soldiers continue down the street mid-firefight, and we get some more looks at some of the fancy cosmetics coming out for this game. Explosions ensue, a player gets into a Churchill tank, and the player on screen is carrying the Model 1900 Remington breech-loading shotgun. So either the same shotgun's making a return, or it is a slightly different breech-loading shotgun. The camera starts to do a cool pan around a squad leader, and oh my god, the stock of his rifle is clipping through his shoulder. Dice, please. Game's literally unplayable. We get to see an epic explosion as the V1 flying bomb levels what looks like 3 or 4 different buildings. Players get up, and it appears like we're in a completely new, fully devastated city. Now, I'm not sure if this is a second map we're seeing, or if there's so much destruction and or quote-unquote levolution happening during one of the play sessions that it can actually become this destroyed. I think it's a second map. We'll just have to wait and see. A shot is fired from the distance, and if you look in closely, you can see it's actually a rocket shot, which I believe is coming from the Sturmtiger, which was designed for urban fighting. Now the players are making their way through a completely leveled city with massive piles of rubble, changing the topography and cover spots. Tanks are clearly going to be a big part of the battle, and as we can see, there's a little bit more cool tank customization here with some barbed wire and cool cosmetics on top. I'm actually quite excited about the customizing of vehicles in this game. A half-track and German Tiger tank push their way down through the destroyed city, and then we transition into a completely different map, the map that we saw in the first trailer, this time from a bird's eye view. As we follow a German Bf-109 shooting at what looks to be a Spitfire in front of it, we get to see a nice overhead view of this map, which is a battle for one of the bridges around the Escaut River. We get a muddy ground look of the battle, and the player on camera is holding the Enfield rifle. It looks like the Mark IV potentially, and this should be one of the other weapons making a return from Battlefield 1. The ground fighting looks bloody and brutal with some pretty impressive particle effects. Then we transition into desert combat. We knew this was coming with the launch of Battlefield 5, but I've been really excited to get our first glimpse of it. This first freeze frame here gives us a look at one of these desert maps, showing off the insane scale with aircraft and many tanks down below. The desert battles in the African campaign were absolutely insane with many tanks. This could either be Halfaya Pass or the map nicknamed Fox Hunt. We see some ground level action here. Infantry looks like they might be at a bit of a loss going up against all these tanks. We see the Sturmtiger prominently displayed in the middle of the desert. Never actually did any desert fighting, was designed more for urban combat, but then again, there's tons of vehicles making appearances in battles that they never fought in. We get a series of aerial combat shots. Clearly, air combat is going to be a big part of this game. I'm curious to see how they update it for the open beta, and we also spot the M1A1 carbine on the left here, which was designed primarily as a paratrooping rifle, but there's a good chance we're also going to be seeing the M1 Garand at launch as well. We're also getting what I believe is our first in-game look at the map Fjell 457, which is the second map in the Norwegian campaign. So we've played Arctic Fjord, then I believe you move on to this map if you're playing in the Operations game mode. This is where the Germans made their final stand in the mountains around Bjornfjell. Again, this is our first in-game glimpse of a new multiplayer map that I believe ties into the operation that we saw around the Escaut River, the map with the mud and the big bridge that we saw in the very first trailer. This map will either lead into that map or be after that map, in theory. It most likely takes place somewhere around the Aras with large open fields and probably tank battles. We then get a shot of a female soldier tossing a throwing knife into a German commander. This could be from single player, or throwing knives could actually be an ability in multiplayer for some stealth takedowns. Kind of a cool concept, waiting to see what DICE does with it. Again, we get another look at what I believe is the map Devastation, and it looks like it's taking place at night, so maybe the second day of playing this on Operations will be a nighttime map. We get a few cinematic shots of locations that I believe we've already seen, and then we transition into the Royale part of the trailer. Now, admittedly, first time looking at this trailer, I was thinking like, did they add nukes to the game? What's going on here? And then it hit me, this ring of fire is the circle enclosing on players here. And if you look at this big overhead view, you can get an idea of maybe how big the overall area is at the start. We see scorched earth behind the fire, but does that mean that that's where the fire started? If so, the map itself might not be crazy big. It might not be as huge as you would expect in, say, PUBG or Fortnite. That being said, I've really enjoyed playing some smaller scale, faster paced Royale game modes, so if DICE is going for that approach here, that could actually be really fun. Now, of course, DICE is including vehicles with their Royale mode. No confirmation on air vehicles yet, but this is a Tiger tank, so certainly a formidable force in a Royale style mode. Now, surely gadgets and pickups must be a thing in Royale. We see an interesting device on this soldier's back here, something I couldn't pinpoint, not sure what we're looking at. Maybe you guys in the comments can figure it out for me. As we watch the circle of fire closing in on soldiers here, it occurred to me that maybe DICE isn't planning on letting soldiers actually step outside the ring of fire. Furthermore, it does appear that the speed of the ring might actually be slow enough that you can outrun it. So environmental deaths that are very commonplace in other Battle Royale style modes might be less commonplace here, and soldiers are just forced to stay within the ring or face certain death. It's certainly a nice change on the dynamic, and I'm excited to see how it actually plays out. Anyway, we got a lot of new information here in our very first glimpse at the Royale game mode. Excited that they're including vehicles in it. Curious to see how it balances out. And we got a lot of more information about the other maps and weapons that'll be in this game at launch. Again, Royale is not confirmed for launch. I think this is just a teaser of things to come. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you noticed any other cool little tidbits from this trailer, let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.